yo, what is good, my people? What is good? Good to see y'all. Thanks for allowing us the grace of getting a few minutes, after 8 o'clock. You know what I'm saying? You know how it be, man. Technical stuff, we got to get it right. You know what I'm saying? We got to get it right so that it sounds good, so we don't have any interruptions and all that good stuff, man. But we hope y'all are well. Thanks for hanging in there. Definitely want to acknowledge all the fam that's already in the chat.
I know.
Appreciate y'all.
Appreciate y'all. There. Thank you.
Appreciate y'all coming through. We got Jay Dominguez. We got Nate in the building. Mr. Phil Fox. Thank y'all for being the early birds. We appreciate you. So, without further ado, man, let's invite our wonderful guests onto the stream. What's up, peoples?
How you doing?
Hey.
Yo, pleasure to have y'all. So
this is nice.
I mean, for the folks that don't know who you are, the few folks that don't know who you are, would y'all do us the favor of just introducing yourselves on this stream tonight?
Vocab Malone, Phoenix, Arizona, retired amateur Christian rapper and slam poet sometimes.
Nice.
And transitioned into apologetics online and tried to take some of the stuff I learned from being out street witnessing and evangelizing the streets and just urban apologetic encounters and put it into a book. And I am from Phoenix, which Dinu happens to be visiting because she has other interviews in the city. And so we figured, well, let's just do this one too. So here we go.
Yeah, it's cool.
And that's a nice segue to say, hey, my name is Dinu. As Vocab said, it is great to be here in Phoenix. It's cool because we get to do this on location and only have two screens for the viewers. So that's cool. Nice aesthetic. But you can find me around. I am pretty much a YouTube moderator for a lot of the urban apologist YouTube channels. And so that's primarily where you can see my name in blue with the wrench.
Yes, exactly. You do have the wrench everywhere.
I do a little bit, yeah. And then I also do videos here and there just covering some urban apologetic issues. Maybe we'll get into that a little bit later. But I do come out from behind the camera from time to time, as I am right now. But it's good to be here with you guys. We're excited to chat with y'all.
Nice.
Awesome.
Yeah, she's all the way in Phoenix recording with Cultish, which is one of the
yeah.
Okay, that's dope. Jeff and them, right?
I came from behind the camera just for a little bit.
Two episodes. And so when I heard that, I said, well, let's try to see what else we can work in here. So after y'all, there's another one she's going to do on another side of town. And so it's going to be a busy day of interviews for Dinu.
Nice.
Man, that is being efficient right there, man. Just knocking it out back to back to back. That's the grind right there. I love that.
Yeah,
that's good.
It's gonna be good.
Yeah, but I'm excited that you guys are here. So we finally made it, and this actually worked out perfect. That you guys are in the same place, same location, so we get to do this. So that's wonderful. Yeah,
absolutely. So just in case if anybody's tuning in and they're not familiar with us, so I'm Lou Chikuni, and this is Violet Chikuni. We are both content creators on YouTube as well, and Seek Things Above TV, where you're watching this. We're dual streaming, so you can watch it on Berean Babes as well. So whichever platform you're on, make sure you leave that like. Don't forget to subscribe and all that good stuff. And we're going to leave the links for Vocab's channel and where you can find Dinu as well, because y'all need to.
I already actually left. Everything is already in the description below. The books, the links, how you can support the ministry that they're doing. It's already there. So be sure to check it out.
For sure. Yeah. For sure. So, I mean, let's set it off. This is the book right here. Y'all got the big joint back there.
I know.
Street Level Apologetics. Yes. Man, so I first heard of this through EC, who's actually, I guess he did the the endorsement joint in here. I saw him talking about it on his Facebook, man. I know that he's a solid brother, so if he's endorsing something, it must be dope. So I've been wanting to get my hands on it for a minute, and started reading it, yet to finish. But man, is this a page turner, man? This is just like there's such a wealth of knowledge, of perspective, man. And so brother Vocab, man, if you could just talk to like the motivation to, what made you want to write this book in particular, man.
Well, I was working on the beginning section of a book on Hebrew Israelism, like a follow-up type of book to the first little book I did. And in the beginning, I wanted to talk about methodology, theology, scripture verses related to apologetics itself before I really got into discussing Hebrew Israelism proper. And so I felt it was important to establish a groundwork in this book I was working on called Do Your Research. But what happened was, as I was going along, writing, letting it flow, looking at what I had, I said, this is going to be way too long. The first third of this book is its own book. So I stopped kind of working on the second 2/3 of the book and just focused on the first third of the book and just expanded it out and let it flow. And it really naturally grew. It's kind of like, it's totally a COVID book. Just like if you just sat at home during COVID, you just naturally grow and get big. And this book was written during COVID.
Yeah, it is a big book.
Yeah, this book just naturally, organically grew. And then the next thing I knew, the book was done. And D New was instrumental. There was like a whole kind of makeshift team. The Lord kind of just dropped into our zone. And D New's doing all of this editing. And then another guy that is related and into some of our supporters, and just all these people just pop. And next thing we know, the book is completed with many hands, though. Yes. And it's done way better than I expected. I always kind of thought, oh, this is what people know me for. They're going to want a book about Hebrew Israelites. This will do better. But I got to write this other book because it's foundational to apologetics, but it's never going to do as well. I was totally wrong. Within like 3 months, Street Level Apologetics was already where my book on the Hebrew Israelites was. And I just couldn't believe in the buzz was. I'm just a local independent guy. I have a regular job, like most of us. And I'm looking, I'm like, what is this? And it was really surprising, honestly. I'm not just trying to be fake humble, right? Although it's good to be fake humble instead of fake pride, right? I don't know, fake proud. But in all seriousness, the amount of people that have said this has helped me to feel more confident to share my faith and given me some fire to maybe even go out on the street and talk to people. And another thing that I hear people say is that it's helped to bridge the gap in some of their knowledge about what's going on in certain contexts. And so I've been blessed by the feedback and blessed at the fact that it's done and blessed by the fact that so many people have picked it up and made use of it. So I'm just excited because it's a good thing to see. You put in work and then you see it, and then it's what else do you want to come of it? You want to bless people. So it's just been fun, really. I think she feels the same.
Yes, praise God. Yeah, because like I'll hop on some lives and everything. Then I see you guys were talking about the book. That's actually how I made Dino. So I'm like, you know what? I better get this book because, I've seen some of the stuff that you've done. I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna get this book. I ordered the book. Then I'm started reading it and everything. Then I texted you, Dino. I'm like, you know what? I need to have you on the show so we can discuss this book. Because I'm like, what? She edited the book. I'm like, I know nothing about editing the book. So I'm like, what? How did Dino do that? I'm like, wow, people are doing stuff. So to me, I'm just like, because when people are behind the scenes, nobody gets to see, nobody gets to hear. You know what I'm saying? Because that's a big deal. Like, wow, she edited the book. I'm like, okay, I better have this down. So I got the book. I'm reading. I told my husband, I said, you know what, I'm gonna have Dino. And everyone said, oh no, you have to wait. I also need to hop on it. So I'm like, you have to read it if you're gonna hop on. So then we ended up you took a vacation. So that's helped us to have time. That way also he got into reading the book. So yeah, the book it's a practical book. Everything is actually in there. And yeah, you're right. So many hands in there, and how even like at the end, how you provided the resources where you added the confessions, the Chicago Statement of Faith. So like the things that are just there to back up the things that you've written and the resources that you've provided in the book. I thought that was it's good. Yeah, that was it's a very good book. I'm so glad that you did it.
Yeah, it is funny too, Violet, because when you said that your husband was going to join you, I was like, well, why are you just interviewing me? You want the author? I can get the author for you.
Yeah, I know. My God, let's make it happen.
Yeah. So I thought that would be fun.
Yes, everything worked out perfect. Everything worked out perfect.
Made to Shine. Is that? Do you guys make those, or whose shirt is that?
Yes, we do. We do.
Okay.
This was not a production yet, but yeah. So we have a clothing brand. Now I See clothing brand.
Okay.
Put the link in here as well. Yeah. So.
Yeah, I want to check that out. That's like a perfect shirt to wear in Arizona. Seriously, it would fit right in with the logo. It's kind of nice.
Appreciate it, brother. Appreciate it. Yeah, man. I mean, so. You want to start with the questions because I got like 1,000 questions here, man. I have so many things I want to just kind of like pick y'all's brains about, man. It's crazy.
I know. So I guess maybe like a question. I don't know like how you get into editing because that was like a huge book to me, to be honest with you. So I'm like, okay, so how do you? I don't know anything about editing, Sister Dino. I'm sure you have already noticed about that. So how do you decide the things that you need to take off? Because like these guys, they can talk till cows come home. So like to make it so you just put the information like, okay, I think this is good stuff that we need to leave in here. I'm sure there's so many stuff that was left on the ground that are still relevant. But I know, right? You just have to have a book and certain pages, some things have to go.
Yeah, you know, Vocab had, so let me just say this. He obviously wrote the book, took some time to write the book, but once the book started being ready to be edited and written, he would send me chapters at a time. And so in the beginning, that is how we did it. There were some chapters that needed a lot more work than others. And you know, I'm a reader. I love reading, and so it wasn't that hard to in some regards, it wasn't that hard to edit the book because I read the book as someone who is a reader. Like, how would I like to read this book? Does this book flow? And there was a couple sections where I suggested that we move some things because to me, it just didn't flow. And so it really was just a matter of putting myself in the position of someone who didn't know about what we're talking about, which is urban apologetics. Part 2 of the book covers the conscious community. Vocab talks about some philosophical things as well. It was just really me stepping back and reading the book as a reader, not as an editor at first. That came a little bit later, but just, you know, making sure that I liked to read it, and I figured that if I was liking to read it, then someone else might as well. So.
Wonderful. Guys, you better buy this book. I already put the link in the chat, okay? So let's support brothers who are doing good work. You go.
Yeah, D New. I think D New is probably, she definitely has read this book more than anyone.
I know his book better than him.
Yeah, I would say she read it more than me because when I'm making corrections and stuff like that, I'm reading it while I write it. And then I go and seek and find a little place for correction, but then that's it. So she's like reading the same different parts with little changes thoroughly time and time again. So she's read the book more than I have.
Yeah, I joked with him very early on. I said, listen, when this book is done, I don't need to buy it. I have like 30 copies on my home computer. I have every iteration, every version of the book. So yeah.
Oh, that's nice. That's nice.
That sounds like how, like when you record an album, like the producer or the mix engineer get all the versions and they're tired, they're trying to mix it and they're tired of hearing it, but and the artist just comes and keeps making these changes or doing stuff and they just end up with a product that people don't know how much work that goes in behind the scenes. So no, definitely appreciate your work on this, sister. I mean, it's easy to read. That's what I really like. It's easy to read, and clear. Yet like it's engaging. Like you're reading the whole time. It's like it's kind of like just taking you through like step by step, like a thought process is how I felt as I was reading it, man.
That was good.
Yeah.
So, oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, even for me, even though I've read I've read this book. Let me just be broad and say I've read this book several times.
I believe you.
But you know, every time I read the book, I still enjoy it. Like, it's a great book. It's a practical book. It's a useful book. It's an informative book. It's a book that kind of gets your thought processes rolling, as Vocab said earlier. It's a book where it really inspires you to think, oh, maybe I can do what Vocab's doing, you know? And so I feel that every time you read this book, there's something new that you can get from it. And definitely it's a book that, you know, you can revisit over the course of your life.
The information is just not like yesterday, right? It's something that it's useful throughout. So how did you come up with the idea of putting like a summary at the end of the chapter? I thought that was like cool. So like, you know, you read and then you guys put like a summary, so you know that, okay, that's this summarizes the chapter that you just read. I thought that was interesting.
If I could be honest, the way that happened was not as thought out and cool as it sounds. What would happen is I would have this chapter, and I would look and I would realize there'd be a place where I essentially had two redundant paragraphs, meaning saying the same thing in a different way and stuff like that. And I would kind of seek those out because I didn't want to be redundant like that. And I would basically save them and kind of put them at the end of the chapter. And I said, hey, that'll make a good review. That'll make a good summary. So basically, it's a result of me keeping track of the redundant sentences, and putting them together. And then I would look at the review, you know, or the summary, and then I would kind of add little things so it smoothed it out. And then at the end, almost everyone had a summary. Some didn't. So then I kind of created kind of an end section to try to make it some uniform. I mean, when I look at the book, I think it's beautiful. I'm so happy how it turned out, but there's still parts where I'm like, oh, it's not quite as uniform and, you know, da. But for amateurs without help of publishers putting this together, it turned out well. And here's why I say that. That everybody, Dinu hadn't really proofread or edited in like an official context that I'm aware of before. I hadn't really done a book like this at this level. We had a lot of people helping out. My point is, you're listening, you're watching, and you are into urban apologetics. I really believe in my whole heart, and I'm not just trying to Joel Osteen you. Everybody can write at least one book. Everyone who's in this has a book in them, I think. And my bet is a lot of us have more than one. And so I'm encouraging people watching, you can absolutely do this. If it feels intimidating, okay, we'll just let the first one be a flop or a failure and then improve, whatever it is. You know, I really do believe that. However, I'll just say the thing is not necessarily the great skill, like you just the thing is like basically absolute commitment to the task until it's completed. And it's really uncomfortable because a lot of stuff doesn't happen. You have to say no to a lot of stuff. There's sort of isolation for little periods. Otherwise, I don't know how you can do it. You have to do that. You have to just block it out until it's done, but then it's over. So you're not doing that for the rest of your life. You know, that period is over. But if everyone's like, I'm going to get around to a book, if you're just only saying that, you probably will never write your book unless you get like some serious injury and you're stuck at the house. And instead of watching reruns of Mad Men, you decide to write. What I'm saying is you do have the book in you, ladies and gentlemen, but you have to block out that time and make it happen. And if you do that, it'll happen. I really do believe that. Like I said, I'm not just Joel Osteening people. I really think that.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, that was actually, I've never seen that style before. I thought that was cool. So yeah, that was good stuff.
Yeah, and I mean how rewarding it must be once you put that work in, brother. I mean, like, you know, and you talk about the isolation, the time of like, you know, I'm gonna kind of withhold so certain, you know, stuff that's not bad for you, but it's like right now I got to be productive and I got to block out this time. I got to dedicate myself to it. And then to see it come to fruition and it's in your hand, man. I mean, that feeling must be amazing.
Yeah. Good
stuff. It is. And that's why I again encourage people to get involved and do this. This urban apologetics is new, and I really think almost everybody involved can add something. They got a little flavor, a little part to the conversation to add, and we need more, not less. There's obviously Mason edited a book called Urban Apologetics. We're not done yet. There's a lot more people. We gotta drop and I'm not guilting people if they don't write, but after completing it, I realized, hey, we can all do this. We can all do it. I really feel that way. So let's get on the ball, and I can't wait to see your books, and then you can make a shirt that matches.
Well, we have an editor in the house. They know edit,
right,
so
we know who's gonna do the
editing.
Man, so I mean, mentioning, so obviously urban apologetics being the thrust of everything, right? I mean, the thrust, like that's the mission field, right? I wanted to read just like two quick things from here, and then kind of ask this question to you. So this is page 25, and it says, the fact is, Christians have always loved cities. Read the book of Acts. More importantly, Christians have always loved the people of the city. We can simultaneously love the city and still critique it. This is what the African theologian Augustine did so expertly in his magisterial work, The City of God. We can love elements of the culture and still critique the culture. This is what the American apologist Francis Schaeffer did in his 1976 masterpiece, How Should We Then Live? All right, so then I'm gonna hop over to page 27. So just flip it right over. And so this right here, I love this. So it says, what is contextualization? Well-known missiologist Bruce Nichols helpfully explains contextualization as the translation of the unchanging content of the gospel of the kingdom into verbal forms meaningful to the peoples in their separate cultures and within their particular existential situations. In global missions, this is known as the translation model. Sometimes Christians get carried away and do silly things under the banner of cultural contextualization. And then you say, I'm not advocating a diluted gospel or a compromised kerygma. I hope I pronounced that right.
Kerygma just means the preaching content of the early church.
Kerygma.
Yeah, okay. It's a Greek word. I did it because the alliteration. It kind of sounds good.
I thought it was Greek.
Kerygma.
It looked
kerygma dope. Yeah, so it's a word that's a preaching content of the early New Testament church, but my bad.
Cool. So yeah, so I'm not advocating a diluted gospel or a compromised
kerygma.
I'm talking about apologetics as a faithful explanation and trustworthy defense of the Christian worldview. That word faithful is a big word, 2 Timothy 2:13, Acts 20:27. So my question is this right now. So because we're in a climate where there's a lot of, pressure, social pressure to sort of cater things to a certain, demographic, or to be super sensitive to, minorities and things of that nature, right? How do we love the city, right? Recognize it's fallen and broken, see the need for contextualization, right? And then, do that, apply that without finding ourselves in a place where we're compromising for the sake of reaching lost people, or for the sake of, ending up sort of, trying to cater to people.
Well, it's a tall order, right? It's not easy. If you're rigid, we won't, then you really can make the mistake of not really being a good ambassador, and the scripture says, Paul says, 2 Corinthians, we are ambassadors. You can make the mistake if there's no ability to care or whatever. And honestly, I think when we look back at the history, especially of Western missionaries, I think we see that mistake where they took the gospel and a tie. You know what I mean? It wasn't just, here's the gospel. It was dress like me. You need to change your name to an English name. These are really things that happened. And that's not part of the gospel message. Jesus didn't tell us to go around the world and change people's names. Now, I understand people want, and they could have a new, I understand all that, but I mean, kind of forcing upon them, almost like, here's your Christian name, right? And we do look at the culture and critique it. So that would include cultures that we're, doing missions to and all that, and our own as well. but there's a mistake of being too rigid, no flexibility. And again, I don't mean in the message, I mean in just how we go about this, really just a sensitivity and that kind of thing. Jesus, those parables, they're filled with things and imagery that the people of that culture would understand. And really, most of the world still understands those parables. We have to kind of look, what does it mean to raise sheep? And what's the farming process? We don't know about that part, right? But people still in the world, all over the world, and for centuries, they understood those parables because they're directly right there. They get that. Then there's the other mistake of you're so flexible. So, you converted? You don't need to get baptized because we know if you get baptized, there'll be persecution. So just stay unbaptized. In fact, just go to the same services of the same false religion you went to before. You can be in the mosque. You can be over here. That's okay. Just in your heart, Jesus knows you're Christian. And unfortunately, this is a real thing that happens. And I'm speaking now kind of, because since you brought up the Nichols quote, he's a missiologist. I'm speaking of missions, but we can do that same thing in a local context. It's almost like Jesus loves you as you are, and you can just stay how you are. And, that's a problem. That's a problem. It's easy to want to go that road, but it's a problem. So we have to really say, okay, what's essential? And that's why it's so important to know the gospel. That way, what is essential and what sort of an outcropping and elements of culture that are sort of what you might call accidental elements. That's a philosophical term. I'm a Calvinist, so I don't really think it's accidental, but accidental means non-essential properties. What's a non-essential property? And a tie, to use an older example, and a certain kind of name, those are not essential to the gospel. And so we got to really do that. And as we go step by step, and I think you will make mistakes. I don't see how we can go along and never make mistakes in this. I think you will make mistakes as you try to faithfully translate. And it's a very precarious thing. We got to operate in wisdom and in the power of the Spirit. We'll make mistakes, but if we're checking ourselves and we're not, I do it this way and it seems to work. We, as long as we're going along and wise counsel, I think the Lord will bless it. But we will make mistakes along the way. But it's a tricky thing, and it's going to get harder for Christians. It's going to get harder because we're going to want to shave off all the rough edges of the gospel before too long. I mean, we're already getting close to that, but it's going to get even more of a temptation to just shave almost everything off. And it's tricky. It's very tricky, but the book is hopefully an aid in helping people to see, okay, what are some ways we can navigate this?
Good stuff.
Mm-hmm. So do you, thank you for that. Either might be not knowing what's going on, like this term, contextualized evangelism. I haven't come across something that talked, whenever this term is used, meaning like positive, it's almost, okay, we're going to be in the city downtown and we're going to change the methodology that we're going to use to reach to these people. So, for example, like, okay, these people are in the hood. We don't want to tell them, the way the gospel is presented. So people are actually watering down the message of the gospel,
right,
just so they can relate to people in the city. So, for example, right now, the big issue is going to be all these reparations, or white people, they need to be doing these things. So this is a message that's going inside the city where you have this wokeness ideology that's has come in the church. And like when you find out how these people heard this issue, it's because somebody came in, but they watered down the gospel. So have you come across those things? I mean, I've seen you sharing the word of God, people on the street, and I've never seen you compromising in that way. But this is exactly what's going on, especially in the city. People are watering down the message of the gospel because they want to reach the minorities in the city.
Well, sometimes it's like the pendulum swings type of thing, because just like there is some problems in Western missiologists, the pasts. I think some of those problems have been duplicated to an extent within the United States of America, and it's almost like, well, there's been mistakes sometimes made of like, well, if you're going to be a respectable Christian, preach like this, sing like this, don't get too excited, do this. Let's make sure that we dress this way. And I'm not talking about issues of modesty. I'm really talking about cultural things. And sometimes there's sort of been a mainstream approach that really fits people into a certain cultural mode, as if that's the normal way to follow Jesus. And I think we can swing the pendulum too far the other way, where we're just taking all our cues from the surrounding culture, and there's really no backbone to say, no, this is not right, no matter how trendy it is, or no matter how, how many people are caught up in it. This is not right. And that happens a lot, I think. And maybe some of that's might be some of what's going on, because I see some people who might be rightfully bitter or hurt, but the pendulum is maybe swinging too far the other way with some of these things. Mm-hmm. And I'll let Dinu answer in a second, but to an extent, I'm not saying I've completely avoided having these issues stick to me or whatever, but as I've kind of went through the gauntlet of like online stuff and urban apologetics world and dealing with some of these wild cults, I've tried to, not because I don't think it's important, essentially avoid a lot of over discussion for me, because I feel like then I'm going to get bogged down in discussing about methodology and this and that, when I'm like, hey, I just want to do it. And so sometimes I work with people that are kind of on this side, and some people are kind of on this side, and sometimes they're not friends and they don't know how I can be friends with both of them. And it creates some challenges, not because it's not important or anything like that, but just like it's so tiresome and burdensome, and not like I'm pure heart all the time, but I'm like, man, I want to be able to talk to this person about Jesus for real. And I don't want to bring up all that other stuff. And so I think being sensitive is right. Understanding the context is right. But I mean, to put it simply, we also can't sell out, and we can't just do hashtag evangelism or whatever's trending. We kind of, hashtag put that on our evangelism. The church can get excited about trends, and it's like, well, what's the book this week, and what's the new phraseology to use? We need to create safe spaces. It's like whatever it's like this hashtag ministry. Yeah. And I understand, again, being relevant, but sometimes it looks like we're just copycats. And I don't like that either. So I try to kind of have my thoughts about it and then just put the nose down. Not that I always succeed, and some people don't like that model, but that's where I am. But Dinu, what do you think? Because they asked a loaded question.
Bring it on, sister.
I mean, I'll just say this. I think that when we're talking about apologetics, specifically, we're talking about urban apologetics, there's so much that there's so much in the sphere of urban apologetics that needs to be focused on and dealt with. When you deal with, groups like Hebrew Israelites, or let's talk about doctrine, not people. When you deal with Hebrew Israelism, when you deal with Kemeticism, when you deal with, Afrocentric atheism, there's so much in these ideologies that require our full attention. And so that's the way I do it. I'm focused, whoever I'm dealing with, whatever ideology I'm dealing with, I'm focused on that, and not so much peripheral issues to that specific ideology. So.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's a lot of landmines. There's a lot of landmines.
Yes, I know.
Yeah. It's going to increase. I mean, it was tough enough with just, Christianity is a white man's religion and this and that. But now there's all these additional landmines kind of being added almost daily.
Right.
And man, oh man. I mean, I'm glad where I am, but sometimes I do not envy the next generation. With all the landmines are going to be added by the time they're the ones running around the blocks. Man, oh man, Lord help us.
Yeah, that's very interesting. Yeah. So I did see you had Oma. Did you send the book to Oma? Because when I read the Oma story, I laughed. Oma is still doing the same thing. He still hasn't come to the Lord.
Oh, Oma. Oh.
Yeah, I know. Oma.
Sorry. So, I sent him the full. So he has the full digital. It's not a sample. It's not an excerpt. He does have the full digital book, and he read through parts of it. I just said, hey, let me show you where you're at. So Omar knew the places he was. I don't know how much more he read, but we talked a little bit about it. And, he still sends me things like there'll be something that pops up about Christians in the news, and he'll send me a text or some atheist meme that he thinks is funny and stuff like that. And it's interesting. We've been going at it really for years now.
Yeah, years. Friendly, getting old now. Yeah.
It's been years. It's friendly opposition. And there's certain things we agree about more now than back then, because it's funny, you mentioned certain cultural trends and stuff. He's an atheist, and he is a man of the left, but he's a lot more commonsensical than a lot of other folks that might vote like him. And we started talking about stuff, and there's certain areas, and I was like, Omar, you're almost starting to sound conservative on this or that. He's like, well, I'm more of a libertarian, and then this and that. And it was interesting because it's almost like it's interesting when you can find some places of agreement. Now, these are political issues, but sometimes I can say, okay, let's talk about the issue behind the issue. And I remember the last time we met, there's a place in Phoenix over here. It's named after the Main Ingredient. It's named after the Pete Rock-A-Seal Smooth album.
Oh, that's one of my favorite albums.
Yeah, you know that album?
Oh, man.
Caramel City.
Oh, Carmel City. Take You There, bro. Come on, man. Yeah. Escapism. Come on.
Yeah. One son in the NFL, the other in an NBA. Right. What you gonna do?
Never judge a book by its cover. Discover the soul, brother. With Rebecca Dawn. That joy.
The beats on that, the production. So there's a place called the Main Ingredient, and they play like old 90s hip hop there. It's pretty cool. Anyway, so we met there, and we were talking about stuff, and it was just it was really fascinating to see the places. But he's pray for Omar because he's really apathetic about it now. Meaning now he's like, I don't really argue about these things anymore. The only time I really talk about this anymore is mainly with you and maybe one other friend. Whereas when I first met him, it was all he kind of talked about. And he's kind of now just in his groove and is living his life. And I kind of teased him. I said, so you're just comfortable being a plain old mainstream hedonist now, right? He's like, yeah, I think so.
Wow.
So he's not really... He's kind of settled and apathetic, whereas before he wanted to talk about it and battle, which I don't know which one's better. I don't even know which one's better because, he's more aggressive before, but at least he wanted to go. Now it's just like I'm his special friend where we have those conversations. Is what he told me. He's like, yeah, you're kind of the one guy I really talk about this kind of stuff too. So, and he lives in West Hollywood now. He said the other thing is Vocab, everybody agrees with me.
Oh, wow.
Because he lives in West Hollywood. He said there's no one to argue with anymore. He used to live here, in Phoenix. And there's no one to disagree with, apparently. He said.
Oh, man.
So pray for Omar. He's a good guy.
I thought that was interesting when I saw. I'm like, oh, Omar made the book. I'm like, okay, I'm going to ask you if you sent him the copy.
Yeah, did you see he endorsed it too?
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm like, okay. Yeah, I did see that. I'm like, okay, Omar. Crossover.
That's love right there.
So if you ever read the book, mild spoiler, everyone, Omar is an atheist I met on the streets, and we developed a friendship. And years later, he actually endorsed the book, which is basically about how to convert people like Omar.
The book's for everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah, atheist endorsed.
Yeah.
So dealing with, I guess, issues of, you kind of talked about, earlier we talked about, there's a lot of landmines and there's just where the culture is going. We kind of, spoke about that briefly. Mm-hmm. In the area of, well, I guess this is still the same realm of, apologetics. I'd love to get your thoughts on, and maybe even your experiences as far as dealing with folks who are just, embracing the deconstruction movement, right? And who are, obviously they claim to be, Christians. These are people who are Christians who are embracing this methodology of dealing with, difficult issues or things that they're having trouble wrestling with, in the scriptures, I personally don't think that that's, the way the Bible says that we should deal with questions. I think the Bible embraces us having questions, having doubts. I think doubt is a biblical category and all that, but I don't think what's being pushed by the deconstruction movement is necessarily what, the Bible would have us do. But can you speak to maybe your experiences as far as apologetics to, folks in that movement, or maybe just some conversations you've had and maybe your thoughts on that in general?
Yeah. Let me just say this, Dinu, I want to let you try to answer this, but here's how I'd frame it. I have what I consider the antithesis of the deconstruction mindset, which is the pit bull state of mind.
Uh-huh.
So if you're saying the deconstruction, all that stuff, to me, I'm advocating something that's the opposite, that almost the idea of the pit bull state of mind shields you, protects you, puts you in a total different mind state, a different category, a different place. And that doesn't mean you never have a doubt or anything like that. But the pit bull state of mind, I think, that's what I'm pushing. That's what I think the Bible says we should have. Now, obviously, it doesn't use the phrase pit bull state of mind.
I did like that phrase, by the way.
Yeah, I thought it related You know, I'm no pit bull expert. You know, I'm not acting like I'm the dog guy, but I've had a couple pits, and seeing them, and then and all that kind of brought that to mind. I said it's like that. But I was going to see if Dean could kind of explain and break it down, because what I'm going to say is that deconstruction, and again, that's another trendy thing. Everyone's deconstructing everything. The opposite to me is a pit bull state of mind. And I think that's what the Bible advocates. And so that's what I'm pushing. So what is that? Because I don't want to take all the love, since this was originally your interview anyway, not mine.
Yeah, no, we want to hear from both of y'all. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, the pit bull statement. I think that in reading the book and editing the book, that is actually, if you were to ask me the question, what's my most favorite part of the book, that would probably be let's go top 3, the pit bull state of mind. So it just is really great imagery for readers to understand this mentality. We all know pit bulls, right? Most of us, if we don't have personal experience with them, we've heard stories about how strong-willed they can be, let's say it that way. And so you know, it's important for apologists and people who are engaging with other worldviews to have this type of vocab uses the word in the book, tenaciousness, the same type of tenaciousness that pit bulls have, the kind of tenaciousness that you grip onto something and you don't let go until that thing is dead, or until you're dead, basically. This type of focus. And so as apologists, it's important to understand that, you know, we believe that Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life, right? If we can get a hold of truth, which is Christ, right, and hold on to it, so that, you know, in engaging with people, even if you get rocked by a question, if you get asked a question that you don't necessarily know the answer to, or you know, someone starts to get a little bit more aggressive than you're used to, whatever the case may be, it's important for us to have this type of tenacity that we see in pit bulls, that you just, you know, you hold on to truth, you hold on to the truth of who Jesus is, that you hold on to the truth of scripture that you know, and you don't let not knowing the answer to a question wave you. You know, you don't let, you know, being insulted cause you to retreat. Pit bulls don't retreat. Pit bulls do not retreat. They always fight, right? That tenaciousness will always be synonymous with pit bull. And so that's how we have to be as Christians, just holding on to the truth, right? And it's important, I'll also say this, that sometimes we can get bogged down in engaging with people, and we can get, you know, dismayed or rocked a little bit if we don't necessarily know how to respond to someone, if we don't know the answer. Just because we don't know the answer to something doesn't mean there's not an answer. All it means is that you don't know. And so, you know, it's important to know that, like, just very practically, it's important to know that. And so it doesn't dismay you, dissuade you, and discourage you from continuing to do the work of evangelism. So.
Amen.
Yeah,
to that.
That's nice. So Dinu, which chapter was very challenging for you when you were editing? And why was it challenging?
I mean, Chapter 7 is where Vocab brings some, you know, some philosophical matters into his writing. So he talks about apologetic styles. It wasn't a sharp turn from the rest of the body of the book, but it's you know, it's a little bit more. You need to think a little bit more when you read this part of the book. So I wouldn't say that it was challenging to read it. It was just a kind of a different flavor or intensity of attention than the other parts of the book. But I am glad that he included it, because it just kind of brings this wide range of readership to the book. You know, you can, whether you are familiar with apologetics, whether you've never heard of the word apologetics before, or whether you've been engaging in apologetics for your whole life, this book kind of is it will reach you where you're at, wherever you are in your experience with it. And so to answer your question, I would say that chapter 7 was it required me going over a few times and maybe asking him a few questions.
So,
but yeah.
So, but like for you, you know, I love apologetics, but I know that not so many women are involved. If they are, I'm just not aware of them. The ones that I know, I can just name a few. So that's what I like, that this is what you're doing. It's actually good. It's a nice thing, because I know before, you know, you asked me, I would tell you I was a Christian, but I didn't know stuff. I was just hiding behind my husband's biblical knowledge until I had to stand on my 2 feet. Then I was just like, oh, you know, I need to have answers for this particular thing. So as it relates to us as women, like, you know, what is encouraging for you, and what made you get involved, I mean, like, to this level? Because this is big deal, girl, you know, like, this is big level stuff.
Well, you know, I have been involved with what Vocab's doing for a few years now. You know, I was joking from, well, I don't know if it was a joke, but I said at the top of the show that I moderate for a few urban apologetic YouTube channels. And so, you know, I've been a part of what he's been doing for a while. And so, you know, when he started talking about the book, that was just another thing to be a part of, essentially. But in regards to what you were saying about, you know, women being involved in apologetics, I think that it's high time, you know, for us to be, it's not that women haven't been involved. It's just that we've not been as visible as you know, men have been. And so I think that, you know, it's 2022. There's a lot of things in 2022 that can't slip anymore. And I think that's one of those things that it's time for everybody, including women, to get out and to become visible and to do that thing, whatever your thing is, and however you do your thing, to do it. And so that's what I would say.
Yeah, that's, you know, that's good. So that's nice. So I'm definitely so excited that, you know, we have some latest touch to some of the things that are going on. That's nice. So given that you guys, you've always been, like, okay, I see how.
I just want to show you a picture of there, you know, the guy, Adam Coleman, MJ Jackson, and D.A. Newman.
Yes, I saw that one. Like, yeah, because there was another one that I did see, Coleman, that he was on. So were you guys able to send some copies to some of the Hebrew Israelites? I'm sure by now you've made quite a few friends.
Yeah. So the first book is a book when I go out on the street. A lot of times I'll try to have extra copies of this and obviously some Bibles with me, and I'll give it to them. And I'll say, hey, would you like to read this? And every now and then they'll say yes. And I remember one time a guy took it and then he threw it into the street. You know, that's to be expected.
Of you?
Yeah. He planned on it, but I already knew he was going to do it. It's like if you ever seen Napoleon Dynamite, when Pedro's running for president, that Summer is running too, and you know, Napoleon's backing Pedro, and he's like, hey Don, can I see one of those buttons? That's like one of those buttons that has Summer for president or whatever. And he's like, oh, man. And he looks at it and he throws it down the hall and then runs away. It was just like that. It was just like that scene. Thanks. Oh, let me get that book, Vocab. Throws it into the oncoming traffic. Man. But I said, anybody else want one? You know, so it was kind of like that. But this book, the Street Level Apologetics, not as much. A few guys though, and specifically, there was a kind of a what sometimes is called a moderate Hebrew Israelite who's like a kind of a pastor guy in Chicago, south side of Chicago. And him and I have been talking on the phone for long periods of time. And he was an older man. So I tried to be I really try to be respectful on the phone. I'm not giving his name or anything like that. So it's not about that. And it was tough though, brothers and sisters, you know, he basically just didn't know really anything about Christianity. And this is an older man who claimed to have been a Christian, you know, grew up around the church, and he just didn't really know anything about what Christians believe, the basics of doctrine. And he definitely didn't know about apologetics. He was asking me, what is all this new apologetic stuff I'm seeing? You know, we never heard of this. You guys like made up this new denomination because we started coming around. And why is that? And I had to walk down and just try to gently explain, like, you know, apologetics it's not a denomination, and a person who practices it is not an apologetic, but an apologist. It was a whole thing. And I said, brother, if you give me your address, if you trust me with that, I'll send you a book for free. So I did send it to him, and I don't know his response other than I got it. So I'll see, because he was calling me like every day for a couple of weeks. And once I sent the book, he stopped calling. So I hope he calls
he's
back.
reading it.
Yeah, well, maybe that's it. The book's taking up all his time. We'll find out though. But and I realized, wow, some of this is like really. Some of this stuff is just stuff people need to know about. And that's why I really wanted to do an introductory level and talk about, where is apologetics found in the Bible? A lot of people, they want to argue against apologetics, right? Which is kind of funny. You want to argue. It's like you want to debate against debating. You know what I mean? So they like it. It's not in the Bible. And I try to show in the book, it's in the Bible, and they think it's almost in opposition to evangelism. I try to show in the book, no, you include it in your evangelism. And then they kind of think it's in contrast to the gospel. And I show, no, it's part and parcel. You put it's all together. How you read 1 Corinthians 15. The gospel message is based upon these historical facts. And you go through and show those things, and hopefully people, doesn't mean they're going to, enroll in an apologetics program. No one's asking for that. But there's an openness and understanding. Oh, we should seek to know why we believe what we believe. And I'll stop with answering the question with this part. And we're kind of learning, because IUIC specifically out of the Hebrews is showing up at the churches now. So before if you didn't get up on the subway or on the bus stop at a certain place, you could avoid them. You could drive by and you never see them where you live. Now they're coming to your church. And they're showing up outside the door, and they're asking you, why do you eat pork? Why do you go to church on Sunday? Why don't you include the Apocrypha? Why don't you think Deuteronomy 28 is about your people? Why aren't you telling your people the truth about this? Or why are you telling your people that they're saved by grace alone? And they're asking these things and putting this stuff. And a lot of these videos that are coming out that IUIC is putting out, the leadership, God bless their soul, does not always look good. And sometimes it's not just, I don't know. One guy said, because we feel like it. And then another video ends with the ladies in the church taking off their slippers and hitting the IUIC members in the back of the neck. And I wish I was joking, but that's literally what's in the video. And I'm not even including some of the worst parts. I'm leaving out some of the worst parts because I don't want to embarrass my fellow brothers and sisters more than I have to right now. But I think people were realizing, hey, maybe we should know some apologetics. And again, I'm not trying to embarrass the church, but I literally had a church call me yesterday. And they're like, hey, these guys showed up at our doorstep. Let's do a conference on apologetics this weekend. I'm like, this weekend? Yeah, we need to do it right now. I'm like, and I'm willing, because I'm not sitting around judging. I don't want to be the guy that says, told you so. I'm not that guy. But at the same time, it's like, guys, okay, let's do it. But, but so I think there's kind of a forced, what they used to call a rude awakening. It's happening. And I don't like it. I'm not a fan of IUIC outside of a church on a Sunday morning accosting people, but the rude awakening is here, and we got to deal with it because it's not going away.
Oh, wow. So,
yeah, there's definitely a time where we need to, sharpening up is like you said, the way things are, man, I think, and where they're going, we're just going to have to know more, man. Yeah. When you mentioned about how they come into churches now, you just reminded me of like my early encounters with Hebrew Israelites, man. I used to work down like 7th Street in DC, and right outside the metro station, they used to be there every single Friday. Like you could hear them every single Friday. So it was like every time I get off work on a Friday, I'm like, okay, I just know we about to get into it. Man. It's
you remember what colors they wore?
You know what? They wore black. I remember they wore black.
Okay. I've seen the ISUPK in the DMV area, and one of the guys has a Caribbean accent. Did you hear him frequently? There was a guy on the mic who would.
I just wondered because he's a
pretty prominent guy who's been with them a while. But yeah, that sounds like ISUPK.
ISUBK,
big guys with spikes and studs and leather.
Yes, they look like
boots and
for some reason pants. I thought it was like Africa Bambaataa type stuff, man. I was like,
no, that they sort of do model that dress. They kind of look like a medieval biker gang a little bit. That's them.
Yeah. Wow, man. Yep. Those dudes would be out there, man. We got into it a couple of times. One time a fight almost broke out, man. It was pretty bad, but yeah. And if they've left those, like they're not outside the train stations, they're in front of your churches now. Like, we got to get ready. People got to get ready for real.
Now you sound like TD Jakes. Now truth comes out.
No, shots fired, shots fired. So do you think them coming at the doorstep of the church, it's them like, okay, let's go and evangelize, or like, let's just take it to them, that type of thing? Because
so here's my thoughts about it. So it's this thing has happened before within Hebrew Israelism, but it's always been sporadic. And in fact, the way I got into dealing with apologetics with Hebrew Israelites had to do with them showing up at local churches in Columbus, right? That's what they were doing. I hear a little bit feedback. What is that? Anybody else hear that? And it's been more sporadic. This is the first time that I'm aware of where it's intentional, specific, planned, targeted, and set up in advance and long term.
Wow.
And it just started happening Easter, Resurrection Sunday of this year. What happened was it was so successful, I think IUIC got high off those endorphins. and I'm using euphemistic term, but that's what I mean. And so they made it a regular thing. The next big push you saw was around Mother's Day. So again, very strategic. They hit larger Black churches. And then what they do is after they spend a few times there, they're going down. They get mid-level churches and now even some smaller churches. And they plan it in advance and they caravan. So it's all done and they know exactly where they're allowed to stand. So they're not coming into a church. IUIC is not opening the doors and saying, IUIC is here. They're not doing that. They know where to stand and they know what they're allowed to do. And usually they try to stay within those parameters. And this has shocked Christians because I don't think a lot of people have heard about this. This just happened about 2 months ago. A pastor in a church in Oklahoma put out a restraining order against IUIC because they were bum rushing the church like that, right?
Wow.
And the judge kicked out the restraining order and said they're in a public space. They're allowed to be there. As long as they don't block traffic, they're okay. And the news is interviewing IUIC and they're like, if anything, we're going to go harder. We're invigorated by this.
Oh, yes.
Yes. You know, and IUIC thinks they're still in captivity, and yet the judge is on their side, right? So this is what's going on, and they're not stopping. So this is a newer development because now IUIC has enough people because their primary thing is to do it on Saturday. But now they have enough people where they can break up teams because they have manpower. So they can have enough people where you're not going to get, I guess, burnt out per se, because that's a common problem with cults. And they can have some guys on Friday, some guys on Saturday. The real righteous one double dip and do it both. But they're on Friday and Saturday now, right? Where they're going. And this is a newer development. And you can just put in hashtag church blitz on any social media and you'll find tons of video. Tons of video. And what IUIC used to do, sorry, I know I'm answering along with this, but I think it's a big deal.
That's important, man.
What's happening is they used to just put like TD Jakes, speaking of him, in the thumbnail and be like, Christian pastors can't answer. Now, TD Jakes is not in the video, obviously, right? But it's kind of a stand-in for the pastor that they were like, happened to run into on the street. And the guy says, I'm a youth pastor or something like that. Now they're going to these churches. The thumbnail includes the actual pastor's name and face in the thumbnail. And says, I'm not going to name a real name because I know the names now in my head. Pastor Rush Johnson can't answer the prophets in Georgia.
Wow. They make content off this.
Hyper local. And so this is not what people want. Again, I'm not excited about this, but I try to look at problems as opportunities and say, okay, church, we got an opportunity. What do we do? And so I don't think it's going to go away. And I think what's going to happen, I'm not a prophet nor the son of a prophet. Let me make a mild prediction. And if I get it half right the time, I'll still have a better track record than Hebrew Israelites. So I'm okay. Check this out. I think other groups are going to copy them. I think some of the groups are going to get it. Yeah, they're going to get in on this action. They're going to say, now some won't, like GMS. Those Christians already know about our doctrine. That's a waste of time throwing they're like kind of jealous of. I think they're basically just jealous. IUIC is more organized, but some of these other groups that are mildly organized, like IUIC, you're going to see them. They're going to imitate it because I think it's in their blood to do it. It's like, oh, a new way to go where our primary demographic of conversion is. Because who do you think they go after? It's like mosquitoes know where the flesh is, right? Mosquitoes don't just sit around plants all day. Yeah, they go where the flesh is. They know where to get that blood, all right, and they know how to do it. You know, the mosquitoes, as a result of the fall, have a mild local like anesthesia that numbs you, so you don't know when they're biting you. Yeah, right. IUIC is the mosquito. The church is the flesh, and they're coming over. And it's stuck in the blood right out. My point is that's where most of their members come from, is from a Christian church, so they know where to go. It's fish in a barrel for them, right? And so that's what's going on. So I don't think it's going to change anytime soon. So, church, wake up.
I know, wake up. Yeah. I just remember Dinu, the one, I think this was like Sakari. Then you were saying like, oh, you see, they're not going to respond to Vocab, but they want to talk about him afterward. So then you guys were singing Proverbs 28, verse 9. I was, I laughed so hard.
Yeah.
Like, so how did that come about, the Proverbs 20? Is that what you guys do all the time? Or you pick and choose to decide which group you're going to do that to? How did that work? Because I was just like, wait a minute, these guys have got their own anthem now.
Well, that's something typically that if you watch videos on YouTube, you may see this, but that's something that they typically say to Christians. Oh, sorry, can you not hear me? That's something that they typically say to Christians, that verse, when Christians aren't able to really engage them how they ought to and answer them how they ought to, and sometimes they end up either leaving or being chased away. And so clearly in that encounter that you're talking about, Violet, it was the opposite. Where we were there for quite some time, and they were interacting with us. And then, of course, Vocab showed up a little bit later. And as soon as they saw him show up, not talk, but just his presence, they immediately stopped interacting with us. And so
it was like this. Because of the presence of a certain individual, we are not allowed to dialogue anymore. And that's when this came out right here. Proverbs 28:1. The wicked flee when none pursue.
Yeah.
I love it.
It was kind of hilarious, because the best thing I feel to do in that situation is just stop running. Like, just Sakari, just stop for a minute. Let us stop chasing y'all away. But then it was just hilarious because they literally were packing up, and it was a pack of them just.
Yes, and then they left. Yeah,
it was hilarious.
Because I've never seen them leaving before. You know what I mean? Like, they usually stand their ground. They might be just doing whatsoever, but they're not the ones just to leave. So I thought that was
being there was something different than what you saw in the video, because like I said a few moments ago, we had been there for quite some time, and it was kind of it was kind of cool to see, because they were actually being quite cordial and hospitable. They were they said to one of the other guys that were there that they enjoyed the dialogue and the respect. And then it was just hilarious to see the shift, the immediate shift when the devil showed up, the white devil showed up.
Yeah, that was classic. I'm glad that thing is on film. I'm like, wow, this is so nice. I'm like, okay, so that's the anthem now. Like, okay, that was
especially
fun.
Since they're one of the more militant groups. Definitely Sakari is one of the more militant groups, and so it was fun.
Oh yeah, I mean, I don't know if you can see in the video, but there's guys out there that have flak jackets, extra clips loaded into it.
Yes, I did see it. Like, they even wear the bulletproof vest as well. Like, stuff like
carrying sidearms that you can, openly see. That all that type of thing. And their name is Sakari, ancient Jewish assassins that would kill Roman soldiers during public gatherings and then slip off into the crowd so nobody knew. That's their name. Who would name themselves after
that's
that?
where it comes from, the assassins. Okay.
Yeah, they're political assassins who would kill Roman soldiers and disappear. Like, think about all the things you could name yourself after. Would you name yourself after terrorists from the first century? If you're Sakari, apparently you would.
I think because the name does it sounds cool, Sakari.
Yeah,
it does.
But
the meaning is an
guys
issue.
always have the cool names: Decepticons, Cobra, Sakari.
Right.
I know. So I thought that was very, very interesting. So, like, which one would you say that you guys have found to be hostile? Which groups that you can say that you have found to be more hostile?
And even safety stuff. Have you guys encountered, like safety, dangerous situations, like super dangerous situations?
Yes. Yes, I have. And people say, be careful. I say, nah, I'm not going to be careful. That's not how God didn't make me to be careful. You know, I drive slow on the freeway. So there, I'm careful. I really do. I drive pretty slow on the freeway. I'm careful. But I'm not going to stop, talking to the Hebrew Israelites on the corner or whatever, just like I, used to go to the mosque and talk to Muslims outside of the masjid, so there's been some here and there. I don't try to provoke these guys, but if they're intent on just, baring teeth, then I'll try to let the audience see this is what's really going on. If that's how they're going to be, but I'm not there to, I'd rather have a conversation first, but it's like, you have to assess it. Okay, here's how it's going to be. But I do think, honestly, Sakari probably is the current worst. Back in the day, that title would have went to GMS, but Sakari has definitely, and Sakari came out of GMS. Sakari has definitely surpassed them. There's a few smaller groups here and there that are pretty noteworthy for being pretty wicked. Watchmen for Israel, hitting people with sticks, having no joke. They think they're Moses running around, hitting people with sticks or something. I don't know if Moses did that, but that's why they say they carry the rods. And having people from, quote, other nations kiss the boots of toddlers who are with their group, because they'll have, sometimes some of these groups will have people kiss their feet as a sign of submission. I don't know if you've seen these videos on the street. They'll have them lick them or kiss them. So Watchmen for Israel was doing that, and they had this one white guy on his knees, and he was kissing the whole group, and they literally brought up a 2.5-year-old that was with the Hebrew Israelite group and had him. He was a whole line. It was a whole train. And Watchmen for Israel is a smaller group, but they're one of the worst ones. But Sakari is the worst big one for sure. It's not for sure.
Wow. Okay. So but then you guys have that group on video fleeing, so that's good.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I do think if some of the members of Sakari had a chance where they knew they would be okay to get me, and it was a place where there's a loan, I'll just put it in I'll put it in vague terms. There's some of them who would definitely get me.
Wow. Yeah.
Whereas there's other ones I would feel safe with and I would trust, like Israel of God. They don't act like that. Israel of God would those are good. They are on a not speaking of their works or anything, but they are good people who mean well, and you could have as a neighbor, and I think trust them and build with them. So not all the groups are like that, but Sakari is like that.
Wow, man. So but I mean, you guys have been doing this. It's good work, because to me, I've always seen them, and I've always just not even pay attention to them, because they always, is that the thing that they do, that they have to speak louder, even though they're on the microphone, they're always kind of screaming.
Yeah, microphone technique whatsoever, man.
Yeah. So I've never sort of taken them seriously, but seeing there's different groups, and wow, now they're going inside in churches. So we can no longer not we have to pay attention. It's important.
Yeah. They would say they're modeling the prophets of old with a loud speech. They would say they're like the prophets of Israel. That would be what they would say.
Oh, that's where they take it from.
That's what they would say, but sometimes they will also racialize it, and they'll say that's because you aren't used to seeing a strong black or brown man.
Yeah, I've heard
that. Confidently.
I've heard that.
You're not used to it. You want us to be like this, and sometimes they'll say that. And sometimes they'll also say, well, you don't understand our culture. You don't understand our style. If somebody makes that comment, and you'll get that kind of stuff. But, I mean, the thing kind of comes out of New York and busy cities. So you're trying to get attention. But honestly, a lot of it's also a power play. You just yell over people. You can shut them down. If you don't want to engage with certain people, you can use the dynamics of the group. And if you have a microphone to really eliminate any conversation, you can do that if that's what you desire to do. And some of the groups roll that way. So I like the groups best that don't have amplification. And I try to tell Christians, if you're running into a group that doesn't have amplification, don't try to up the ante and make it get all wild. They don't have amplification. Yeah, there's going to be more of them and all that stuff. But you can actually maybe have a good conversation because it's two people on the street. The technological element's not there. It's rare to find a guy on the mic that you can legitimately talk to. That's rare.
Wow. Yeah, and I know from my own experiences, just being if they have that mic, and when you start asking them hard questions, then they just pull the mic away. Like if they do give you a chance to talk, then they'll just pull it away. So yeah, I don't think they're a lot of them are sincere about hearing opposing ideas. I think they're just there to push their own ideas out.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, we've been in the Christian church long enough. It's filled with lies. We've already heard the pastor every Sunday. Now we know the truth. We don't need to be lectured by ignoramuses. We're going to tell them the truth.
Right.
You Christians don't know anything. You don't know your Bibles, including your pastors. Why are we going to sit around and listen to you and have a conversation? You need to be told what's in this word. Bring it out. They don't think you have anything to offer. And, sometimes the Christians fulfill that stereotype. And it's like, if you do show that, you're going somewhere, that the word, every now and then you'll find one who'll give you legitimate respect and say, okay, I see I'm dealing with somebody who cares about God's word. Okay, let's go. But a lot of times they accuse you of, trickery or lying or deception or change the subject, that kind of thing. There's just a lot of tactics that aren't fair. And this is, the book Street Level Apologetics. So I'm mainly talking in this part of the conversation about guys on the street.
Yeah,
there's all kinds of folks you can have great dialogue with in a cafe, in a diner, at your job, running into a Walgreens or CVS or whatever, and you see a guy with fringes on. And the reason I say that is this is stuff from my real life, and you can have some great conversations in those settings. But in these street settings, it's very contextual, and so I don't say I'm going to act the same way or operate the same way in those settings as if I see the guy in Walmart with the fringes on.
Right. So you mentioned So with that, there being, Christians who can be taken advantage of, maybe because they don't know as much. What would you say to, the young Christian, someone who's young in their faith, who wants to get into, street, apologetics, go out with maybe, a squad or something. They want to start doing that. As far as resources, obviously we know, they need to know their word, but as far as resources, well, they need to know their word, and then they need to get this book. But
For sure.
But is like, what other, resources would you encourage them to read and to get into so that they can sharpen themselves out there?
Get some good gospel tracts. There's some good, the little things you hand out, and then they got the gospel in them. Get some good gospel tracts. I think, get some free Bibles, get that backpack, maybe get a couple extra bottles of water. That's the kind of stuff I like to go out with. And then as far as other resources, it's not really for street level stuff, but I mentioned it in the book. I kind of have a whole chapter about asking questions in evangelism tactics.
Yes.
A book by Greg Coco. I think it's helpful to apply. And a similar book that a lot of people don't know, written by Randy Newman, called Questioning Evangelism.
Oh, I love that book.
It's a great book, right?
Yeah. It's fantastic.
And then I'm going to push for Always Ready by Greg Bonson. I think it helps give you that pit bull state of mind and really shows you the biblical basis for a lot of this and sets you up with a basic foundation to then pour information into. So those would be some I would mention just off the top. Dinu, you want to add anything, or just resources or anything like that with that?
I think, you just said it, but Tactics is a book that I feel like every Christian should have in their library. Whether you're talking to family members, whether you're talking to strangers, coworkers, that book really gives you practical ways to engage with people. And it kind of reinforces this, when we talk about evangelism, I think that, this is how I grew up, at least. I pictured evangelism as, winning people to Christ right there, like an immediate repentance and coming to truth. But the way that Greg Kukul lays it out, I think is so helpful for people to be, just to put a pebble in people's shoe, as it were, right? Just to get people thinking. And it kind of, puts the pressure off of you, the evangelizer, as well, by way of asking questions. Again, questions are a good way to engage with people, and it's also a good way to put the pressure on them and not on yourself. And so I think that book, again, is just a great resource for anyone who is a Christian, whether you're an evangelist today or thinking about it, it's just a great resources to have under your wing.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
I know.
Yep. No, those are some good books. I have Tactics. I got the audio, but I need to get the hard copy, man. But I started reading that. That was good. Yeah.
Yeah, it just came out with a 10-year anniversary edition or something like that. I haven't got that one. It has like a couple more stuff in it, whatever. But yeah. And I mean, it's like understanding God and the gospel. If my book doesn't get you reared up to share the gospel, John Piper put out a number of books, and you can get the digital ones all free. One about preaching the gospel to all people, and now I'm forgetting the title off the top of my head. Well, let me look these. But they're all at Desiring God. If you just look under their evangelism or mission section, and Piper's got some great stuff on this too. That's kind of like the theology behind it and that kind of thing. So if you want to go deeper, really on that level, I think there's some great stuff too. And that's most important. You kind of set the proper foundation. Maybe construct the proper container. And then after that, you pour the information and facts inside of it. But I think the foundational element first, it's like you have the right mentality as you learn the facts and the information, because the facts and information are important, but that can't be what apologetics, we're not just supposed to be walking Google machines or something like that. It's not all there is to it. But that's important to the competency, but that's part of the lifelong aspect of it. And just like you said, Lou, Christians gotta know some stuff. We gotta know some stuff, right. Not only for our own, the kids, the people around us, and the people that we run into. We have less and less shared assumptions, for sure. And so every statement we utter could be challenged. Now, of course, every statement they utter should be challenged as well. And they may not be used to that, but that's where the questions come in.
Right. And do so with this methodology, man. Let me bring this in here real quick, man. This section right here. I think this was awesome as well. Just to mention this acronym that you have, the PREACH acronym.
Yes.
This is fantastic. So pray, reach out, engage and explain, ask questions, Christ-like character, have a heart. I mean, this was fantastic. This is a great acronym here.
Oh, it's already on your guys' thing. Oh, that's dope.
Are those like little tracks or doorknobs? Bookmarks?
Oh, bookmarks.
Oh man, I need like 4 of those.
Okay, that's nice.
Get in line, Lou. You have to get in line.
As of now, I haven't figured out a way to do it, but as of now, the bookmarks are through the website when you get it in person. But I should make a way where people can order bookmarks too. But as of now, that's it.
If you can believe it, I just got a bookmark like a few days ago, and I only got one, by the way.
Oh,
that's neither here nor there.
No, well, I'm definitely gonna order some for sure.
You leave out of Phoenix tomorrow morning. You want me to try to get you one more before you leave?
Still 2.
Oh, 2 more. Okay. Give him an inch, right?
Man.
Yeah, man.
Well, we know you got like a long schedule too. Some more stuff to get into tonight, so we don't want to hold y'all too long, man. But this book right here, everybody, is a fantastic resource. We are not just saying that this is dope so far. I mean, I just started reading it and I was kind of mad that I didn't start earlier, because you could just, if you once you get into it, it's the type of book you just go through and just you would probably want to just read it in like a week or two and just knock it out, because it's just it's so rich.
So and the cover is dope too, like with the name, like it just jives well. You guys did a very excellent job. Good job.
That cover, shout out to Brian from Chicago, and shout out to Mr. Newton from Ohio. Had a lot of help, and just turned out. I remember when I first did that cover, because I had an idea of how I wanted the cover to look, and I showed Adam. He's like, "What? Is there going to be a guy's version of the cover?" He's trying to make fun of me.
Wow.
Adam Coleman trying to make fun of me. I said, "Bro, you're just old. Trust me." It works.
Good job.
And now he likes it because everyone else likes it. So when you make your own book and aren't just a contributor, then you can make your own cover. I'm just teasing. But no, Adam's good people and he contributed. So I know you guys interviewing us, but hey, what do you guys got going on? I want to know what's happening next on this channel, and then everything with the shirts and stuff. What's going on next with y'all?
Go ahead, baby.
I know. So yeah, the shirts are always we have shirts. This one is from this is 6 things above. I actually have a dope one. I'll send you one. Dino. It's unsnatchable from John 10:28. Yes, so it's nice. Like I think it goes well with the women. So it's just like, wow, unsnatchable, what's that? You know, and then it has scripture on it. You know, like yeah, you are in Christ's hands. Nobody can snatch you out of his hands. It's
awesome. Yeah.
I'll send you.
I like that.
Yeah. So yeah, man. So on Friday I'll be on with some sisters. We're just gonna be talking the current events that's been going on. You know how the abortion, we have Christians who don't want to celebrate the Roe v. Wade has been overturned, things of that nature. So we're going to have that panel discussion and you know just the stuff that's currently going on. I do like, you know, getting together with sisters who just love the word, who are just doing things for the Lord. So that's one thing that I do like to do. So that's what I have coming up.
That's good stuff. That's good stuff. Well, it's good. It's nice to see you every now and then. You pop into the live chat and stuff. And
Yes,
by the
I
way,
do.
shout out to the live chat. I saw some people in the live
Yeah,
chat.
yeah.
Oh, yeah, I
definitely shout out
know.
to the live chat crew.
They too did know was in there.
A lot of names to shout out for sure.
Shout out to, I don't know if she's still here, but Shawnee Miller was in the live chat and it is her birthday on today. So
happy birthday, Sean Miller.
Shawnee Miller, my
Shawnee
fellow
Miller.
bodega lady. Happy birthday.
Oh man. Happy birthday, Miss
You want a
Shawnee.
speech for the people in the chat, Vocab? Because that's what you do, right?
I'm supposed to freestyle?
People just like putting.
That's what you said. Like Dino
rappers,
said
like-
you're gonna do. I
like,
told my
on
husband,
the
like, you
spot
better be ready.
And like, you know, it's
Because that's what I believe.
Wow.
Two MCs should be able to do something at a drop of a
but it's not
of
a
hat.
party trick though.
It
So
doesn't
you got,
matter.
I mean, I'm
Why
rusty.
not?
I've been on vacation, but you got a beat?
Yeah. Let's bring out a bit.
Where's the beat? Look what she doing. This is what she does. That's the beat right there.
There's no beat.
There's no beat.
Well, if there's no beat.
Bring the beat on. You know, as a thank you to people in the chat for the book.
I should have had my beat queued up. Unless we just kind of
Freestyle.
We got to turn that up. You got to get that more in the microphone or something.
we do on her side.
On my side.
Yeah, that works, but you just got to hear it.
Yeah.
I can be making it.
No. You your timing is questionable. None of that.
Dino is in the house. Vocab is in the house.
Yes, you are. Time to rhyme. Made to shine. Drop the lime. Her shirt is lime, green on the teen, not a mean. Vocab Malone, nothing I've seen. Marine, I met Berean. Check it out now, we be Korean. Kicking the mics, the lyrics, the facts. Here we come, you know, I write raps, writing the raps. Sometimes they whack. It's all good. They got my back. Yes, y'all, mic check, mic check. Shout out to Violet. Yes, y'all, mic check 1, 2. Shout out to Mr. Lou. Coming through with D New only. Vocab Malone. Now y'all know me. Ride the track just like a pony. Got to leave. Please support me. Yes, y'all, don't abort me. Don't ignore me. Read the work B. Yes, y'all, street level by the book and beat up the devil.
Hey.
That was dope.
Yeah.
You're next.
He said your timing was questionable. That's right. I struggle. I feel the struggle.
Yeah.
Come on, Lou Chikuni. Show us what you got.
I need a beat too. I need a beat too.
Oh,
Look up your 10.
I can't. I'm not. What if I played it over the? You need a beat too. So he's okay. I didn't know that.
The beat.
I mean, I'm not a very good beatboxer. You know, I used to try to, but I'm not that good. You know.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. It's your boy Lou Chikuni on the microphone. I'm chilling with D New and Vocab Malone. Yeah, I'm not alone. I got my wife on my right side. Yeah, that's the right side, the Christ side. The side where he was pierced on. That's where we like to be on. We like to go severe. Keep going on. I'm trying to hit a beat more clear. Then I come back on it. Never ever drop. Never try to be phony. Take it to the top. Yes, that's where the glory is. We bring it to the Lord. We never take it for ourselves because he ain't holding it back on time that I keep jumping. Try to say a little something. Yeah, urban street level apologetics. Never pathetic, but don't forget it. Yeah, don't regret it. You better get it. The book off the website. It's real tight. Yeah, we keep it tight all night. That's what we do. Crew. Represent my girl D New.
How about that?
He did what he could. I did what I could.
You guys got entertained, so you better support, buy the book, subscribe, share the content, okay? You got just a free concert right there.
You can get the book wherever books are sold. You can also get it on Vocab's website. That is vocabmalone.com. And if you order it from there, you shall also receive a bookmark. So that is a way to get the bookmark that's so hard to get a hold of, apparently, as well as you'll get his first book, Barack Obama versus the Black Hebrew Israelites. So. And then the book is also international as well. It's in places like France and Italy, Germany,
nice
places like that. So
nice. I put the link, the Amazon link, your website, and the book, everything in the description. Please, please, please support. Even the Patreon, it's also there because it costs money to do ministry. So
yes,
guys, support.
Forget my bad. I'm trying to fix it, but I'm in trouble.
Oh yeah, I know. I hate it when that happens.
Yeah, gotta go close.
But let's definitely shout out people in the chat before we dip,
I know,
man.
Nate too,
Shout out to Nate too. We got Erica Lynn. Thank you for coming through.
Michelle Turner in the house.
Michelle Turner.
Yep. Subscribe,
Marcus Marshall. What up, bro? Yes. Thanks for sliding through. Iceman. Yes, Iceman. Thanks for sliding through. We got Nicholas in the building. Dear woke Christian, saw you earlier, bro. Appreciate it.
In the house.
Big brother Alton in the building. That's what's up. PJ Williams. Thank you. If I miss anybody, don't be mad. The line's kind of long over here and trying to get some names up in here. But yeah, man, we appreciate every one of y'all, man. We appreciate y'all sliding through. Definitely support the work. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe. And if then you have been raised with Christ, seek the things that are above where Christ is, seated at the right hand of God. Set your minds on things that are above, not on things that are on earth. All right. See y'all on the next one. God bless y'all. Peace.
Till next time, remember, theology matters.
That's right.
Peace.